Alright, so the first preset I want to recreate is the storyteller. So we'll go ahead and factory default this. And basically, to start off, the vacuum features two VTOs, which are two vacuum tube oscillators, and this is where the sound originates from before it gets processed through the rest of the signal chain. And they each have their own set of controls here. So to start off, the range knob here for VTO1 is, we're gonna switch it to 16. And basically this is where it changes the octave of the first oscillator. So that's how it sounds right now. And then moving on to the shape knob here, this basically works as shaping the wave. And for this one, it's going to be a pulse wave 50. That definitely changed it. We are shaping the wave there. There are other options here, like a triangle, a saw wave, or a pulse wave 0. This one goes with the pulse wave 50. And then here, this is the fine knob, and it's used for fine tuning. And basically, it's in either direction, it moves 7 semitones. So yeah, higher pitch to the right, lower. But this one stays in the middle, no change. And then the envelope 1 here it controls the modulation of the current VTO wave shape by the envelope 1. So if we open that up, lessen that, this one will stay there though, in the middle. And then moving on to the second one here, it's basically the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, that you can just manipulate it. This one differently to get a different sound, since you do have the option of doing something different here. But for this preset, we're gonna stick with the 16th octave. But we will be shaping the wave to a saw wave instead. The fine knob will stay the same as well, but we will be opening up the envelope a bit around there. And then moving on to the mixer section, this is basically where you blend the two oscillators into the rest of the signal chain, and you can choose how much of each blend you want. So right now for this preset, we're gonna do both of them, max blend. And for the drive here, we're gonna leave it there. But the drive knob does it does add distortion usually. And then the ring mod, it adds basically the two signals here and multiplies them together to give you like a ring modulation, a texture, usually metallic or abrasive. And then this one will be cranked all the way to give you that sound. So now moving on to this section here, it essentially works like an EQ, I'd say. So this is the high pass filter, letting the highs through, just depending on how you want to use it. This cutoff knob here, it influences how much of the highs you can hear, or like how much of the lows you're cutting off. So for the cutoff, we're leaving this here, and then the slope is going to stay there as well. The slope is basically just how aggressive you want that cutoff to be. Higher means more, 0 means none. The envelope 1 here will stay in the middle, and it just means that it controls the amount that the filter cutoff frequency is modulated by envelope 1, and then no modulation will essentially like open up here based off of this envelope 1. But there will be use of no use of this actually. And then for the key track here, it affects, if I'm understanding correctly, it basically sets the amount that the MIDI note is currently playing, like the pitch. It affects the filter's cutoff frequency. So if we listen back, right now it sounds like this, and if we move the key track over, sounds a bit deeper. This one will stay there, and then the saturation will stay there as well. No high pass filter saturation. That basically just adds saturation to the resonant feedback of the filter. And then for the low pass, it essentially works the same way except inversely, because now we're focusing on the lows. For this section, we will be moving the cutoff all the way over here. Right now we can't hear a lot of those highs. These highs are being cut off. So now moving on, the slope will stay the same. The envelope will open a bit just to get more of that sound through. So now we're at a lower type of sound. The resonance here is going to be cranked. That's cool. And then the key track will stay there, but we will add some saturation here to give it quirky tone. And then the age here is going to be a section where basically you can just add like a little bit more texture. So the drift will essentially stay there, and then the dust will we will add some dust. Usually this just adds a bit of noise to the signal. And the drift, I forgot to mention, just adds some like pitch drift to the oscillators. Now the VTA section here is the vacuum tube amplifier, and it acts as the master volume for the oscillators, for the signal. And it is the final place where saturation and distortion can be introduced to the signal based off my readings. So we're going to lower the volume a bit here. And the shape will stay the same. For envelope 1 here, this is basically acting as like, it basically affects the envelope of these two oscillators. And based on the time values, like attack, decay, sustain, release, and velocity. So for this one, for these, it's essentially applying it to both. So we're increasing the attack time. Gonna lower the decay a little bit. And for the sustain, gonna increase that. There's more of a sustain there. For the release time, it will stay there. And then for velocity, we will increase that as well. And now for moving on to the envelope 2, this one affects the VTA amplifier here, so it affects the envelope here based off of time values as well, so the attack here will stay there. The decay, we're going to increase decay, or this way, so we're increasing it. The sustain will stay there, the release will stay there as well, and then we will increase the velocity. And now for this area over here, this is the modulation area, and it gives you the ability to go beyond the other default modulations routings, and there are 2 paths that you can influence here. And basically for the modulation here for this one, there will be some effects going on here. For this, we are going to switch it for it to affect the envelope 1 of the high pass filter. But essentially, if it's in the middle, it won't do anything. I guess it's slightly doing something there. And then down here, just gives you something else to choose to influence. This is AT aftertouch. And then I don't know if it did do something, kind of made it deeper a little bit, and we will increase the depth here to be like there. Sounds a bit more clear. And then this is the destination of it, so basically it's the low pass filter. So there you have it. There is that storyteller recreated. There's no use for this over here for this preset. Yep. The second preset I chose to do is called Soprano Hell. Cool and spooky. So let's reset this and try to recreate it. So influencing the first oscillator here, we are going to change the octave to 4, And we'll be changing the shape of the wave as well to a triangle. Kind of refined it a bit. The fine knob will stay the same, and the envelope one to shape will stay the same. Now moving on to the second oscillator here, we are staying at 8 octaves for the range, and we will be switching the shape of the wave though to a pulse wave. The fine knob and the envelope one to shape will stay the same. And again, the blend here for the two oscillators, how much we want each of them to be in the mix. So for this one, we want all of it to be in, and then for the second oscillator, we just want a little bit less. And then, so you can hear it's a little bit more quieter. The drive will stay the same. The ring modulation will stay the same as well. Influencing the high pass filter, we are just gonna leave that alone and leave it as is. For the low pass filter here, we will be decreasing the cutoff here. Can't hear a lot of that right now. That will stay there, these will stay here. And then for the drift and the dust, for the age here, we're letting those stay the same as well. For the overall volume, we will make it a bit louder. And then shape will stay the same there. So now you can hear that a little bit better. For the envelope one, this is influencing these two oscillators envelopes. So we are going to adjust some parameters, not all of them. We're going to adjust the release time slightly. Now for the overall volume envelope here, we will be increasing the attack time to like around there. Decay will stay there, and then the sustain will stay, but we will influence the release. Alright, so that's how it sounds so far. For this extra modulation section here, we are going to be switching some parameters. So this will be influenced, the source will be VTO2 here. This will be affecting the VTO2 pitch. And for this second batch here, we are going to leave it at the LFO to be affecting the LFO. We are going to add slightly some bit of depth here. So now we get some kind of like some modulation there. We will be switching this to pitch. It's affecting the pitch now, giving us that wavy tone. And then for over here, we won't be adjusting anything. So there it is. Finished product. For my third preset that I chose, I wanted to go with Dirty Eddie to replicate. So now we'll factory default this and try to recreate this. So for this first oscillator here, we are going to stay in this 8 octave range for this one. We will be changing the wave, the shape of the wave down there. Got more of a pulsating wave because of the PW50. These two will stay the same. Moving on to the second oscillator, we will be keeping the same octave range, and this, as well as the same note. This one will move. So we kind of get an even tone right now. And then we will be fine-tuning this a bit to make it sound a little bit better. Now it sounds like crazier. And we will be opening this envelope slightly. And then for this mixer section here, how much of the blend we want both of them. Cranked, we will add some drive here. So that adds like distortion. And then the ring modulator will stay the same. Moving on to the high pass filter and how we want it to affect the signal for these two oscillators here. We are going to leave the high pass filter alone. Kind of want all of that. For the low pass, we will be adjusting some things slightly. So less rough one. And then these will stay the same. The resonance of this filter will move. Crazier tone, giving it a crazier tone. The drift, we will decrease that. No drift. Dust, no dust. And then for the volume, we are going to decrease it. And the shape will stay. Now to influence the envelopes of the two oscillators, we are going to affect the decay time slightly there. And then the sustain time will stay the same, and the release time slightly less, slightly there. And the velocity will stay the same. Now to affect the envelope of the amplifier, the overall volume, you don't necessarily have to do anything to it right now. Sounds pretty accurate to me so far. For the further modulation over here, we are going to focus on the envelope 1 here, and we are going to just add some depth to that. And for our destination, we want it to affect the VTO2 pitch. So that adds more modulation for sure. This will stay the same. These will stay the same. Basically, sounds accurate to me. And that's it.